Good morning. Tony Dattino, founder of the USA Memory Championship, and making my final comments on the 24th event that we just held on September 23rd at Full Sail University. And it's just a delight to know that we're having thousands of people looking at the YouTube broadcast of it, so that you have the opportunity of seeing what the event was like, who our speakers were. I thought Bob Schaefer did a superb job. I appreciated doing what we call the loci method and sharing with people how to remember order of things and how you might do that. And then Robert and Jamie and I thought did a really terrific job in identifying, so what are people really thinking when it comes to memory, and what are some of the thoughts that go through their mind that give them the feeling that they really can't make improvements, or they can't do things in a more efficient way in how they retain and recall information, comprehend things that they're reading. And so even within the championship itself, and looking at the pieces of the event, from the long-term words, long-term to the words, to the tea party, to the cards, we had these little vignettes that were in the middle of it with Bob Schaefer and myself and Robert Ajamian that we'll pull out and create separate little broadcasts for them in the future. But I thought what was really, really interesting to me is the piece that Nelson Dellis did, where he identified why do people want to come to this event. And he did these little interviews with each of the participants so that we could get, you could get a better perspective of who are these people that compete in the memory competition. And it's always a delight to see the cross mix of age and cultures. It's, I think it's always been a rather diverse competition. And we actually don't always step to say, well, how many of these do we have? And we just run the competition. And it's just usually fairly diverse in just who signs up for it, who comes to compete, who makes the finals. And so I've already started to getting questions about next year's competition. And we'll be starting to talk about that today and next week and start to pick up. So what are the things that we're going to be doing, and what are some of the things that we want to work on? And we'll stay, at this point, it's my recommendation, we'll stay with the virtual qualifying rounds. The virtual qualifying rounds basically are done by Memory League and by Lumosity. And it allows us to let people stay at home as we continue to go through these virus breakouts and flus and COVIDs, and we're still trying to settle down people's cultures in terms of masking and not masking and vaccines and what have you. We still want to respect the fact that we have people who want to compete, and if they can do it through the Lumosity games and the Memory League games and give us our best people to bring to a central location, then I think that's by far the safest and the best way. We had a few people that did not attend this year because of the COVID, so it's still a challenge, and so we still have to respect that and figure out when we can break out and get to a whole different level. Well, to that regard, the competition. I thought the mental athletes did well. In the first event, we had a little bit of a blip in that the long-term memory, we made our first, and we had one of our mental athletes did not do as good a job as studying for the long-term events. What were the long-term events? Well, we started out, we were going to talk about music, Grammy Awards. We had Medal of Honor winners, and we had state senators and their parties and who they were. So we did a little bit of history there, a little bit of honoring people that were receiving the Medal of Honor, and then certainly music. And so it was fun going through those questions and going through that event. Then we got to the word list, and it's always interesting to me, how many words on a list can people remember? And to me, it's not how many words can you remember, it's the mental process that you go through and the teaching and the skills that the mental athlete are applying that make that word list to me very important. Because you can take the word list And you can take a paragraph of information and you can say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember key words in these paragraphs and these outlines that I've got. And I'm going to put them into a Roman numeral loci method of putting them into order. I've seen people use that to get through speeches and just think about how to go through the order of the key thoughts that they want to convey to an audience, and use the Roman room loci. It's the loci for location, how we sync and integrate information into our brains, and how people do that, and then how they apply that. And maybe they want to apply it to a test or policy or something they need to remember for their jobs. So that's one of these simple techniques that's got one of the broadest applications. And then, of course, we go through, as I shared with you on Friday, right? We go through this infamous the Tea Party, right? Where we're showing people somebody's name. So we're going to talk to them, okay, what was their birthday and what was their high school, their home residence, something about their employment or hobbies, maybe their favorite foods. It's a way of networking. And so how well do we remember names and faces of people that help us build our business associations and our business revenues? And so I was talking with somebody over the weekend and saying, God, we've got such a gift in teaching people how to remember people. And what an amazing skill. And it happens to be Jim Carroll, who's probably one of the best long-term memory people, has got more diversity of skills. And I was just working with Jim, just trying to tell him, Jim, you've got an amazing skill, and how you apply that skill is so spontaneous that if you can only realize, you could help salespeople improve their relationships and obviously lead to improving revenue and commissions and skills for your company. So how do you use these different elements of skills, so the Tea Party event, to go out and network? So what are the sales skills and the marketing skills that people use to build their base of customers and new business opportunities? And then, of course, we go and we close through the 2 decks of cards. And so we have 2 decks of cards, and we have people that we give them 2 decks and they have 5 minutes to remember. And we have people that can go through the 2 decks of cards. But here again, so it's an interesting process. But so what application does that have in normal everyday life? And I always think about that, again, doing some work with a history class in a school in Bronx, New York City, teaching the kids in a history class and in an English class, how do you take the cards and remember czars and presidents and premiers and dictators and political leaders and put them through your deck of cards? And so how do you do, okay, here's a card, it's the Ace of Hearts. Well, who are we going to make that? We're going to make that a king. Maybe we're going to make the Queen of Hearts a queen. And how do you turn the cards into figures of history that you want to remember? If you're reading a book for English class, how do you remember and put the cards into the sequencing of critical characters that you're reading as you're going through your English literature classes? And so you can go through the skills, and this is what's lost sometimes in the Memory Championship. These are the skills that we want people to pick up, and as a process of mental functioning that can help them in almost anything that they choose to do in their life, whether it's remembering numbers. And again, people say to us, well, wait a minute, I don't remember that, need to remember, I've got it on a cell phone. Well, we're in the largest mental fitness experience ever, as generations of kids and people use cell phones to remember stuff, and what's happening to their mental functioning, their competencies, especially as we're learning more and more. You want to lose it, or you lose it if you don't use it. And so we're working on skills to give people that they can use in everyday life, and or skills that they can build that help strengthen this thing called the human brain through mental challenges that are being discovered to have more meaning in people's cognitive fitness as ways of of minimizing some of the weaknesses that occur into our mental fitness as we get older. Today's my Monday. I am not likely to be back here on Wednesday. I've got a procedure that I'm going through on Wednesday, and if all goes well with that, you shall see me back here on Friday. So have a good week. Take care. Be safe. And we'll see you in the week.